Welcome into episode 464 of the Skate Podcast. I'm Brian DeFelice, joined by Bridget Prue and Scott McLaughlin. Bridget and Scott, it is the dog days of summer, but that's not going to prevent us from talking about the Bruins and all things hockey. Let's get right to the opening shifts here.
I'll go first. I was thinking, because I was trying to think of ideas. Like last year we did What If Wednesdays. We kind of ran that for, a month and a half during the summer. Well, we're not recording on Wednesdays this summer, so we can't just run it back. I don't know if this is going to stick or not, but I was thinking like Three-fer Thursday. We're going to decide if this is going to stick on the fly, but for the first one, I was thinking, what are the three most important things that can happen for the Bruins this season? Like, what are three things if we get to the end of the season, regardless of how far the team went or where they finished, if you're like, okay, but at least those three things happened. And my list would be, one is definitely Jeremy Swayman bouncing back. Two, I think, is Mako Sturm proving himself as a coach and being able to get this team to play the right way, have a good defensive foundation. Like, I think you want to feel like you have the coach who can work going forward. And then I was really debating the third, and I had a few different ones, and maybe you guys will push for something, but ultimately I settled on James Hagen's having a big season at BC. Like, I think he is so important to the future of this team that, maybe he doesn't have to be the very best player in the country. Maybe he doesn't need to set records and put up 75 points, but I think he needs to be pretty dominant.
He's again, Hobie.
And again, I guess I'm assuming he is back at BC, which I still feel pretty good about. But because I was thinking about the alternative, which is let's say he's a point per game, or maybe even takes a step back from last year. Then I think you kind of have to ask yourself some uncomfortable questions about whether he's going to be a number one center in the NHL. And I think you want to come out of this year, whether you see him in Boston, with the Bruins at the end of the year or not, you want to come out of this year being like, yeah, I really feel like that's our number one center of the future.
Okay. All right. And we're going to talk more about that later as well. Scott hit his right off the top, but we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about that for Three-fer Thursday? Three-fer Thursday?
Yeah, that's what we're calling it. No one has ever done it before.
Never.
Very original.
Never been done. This is groundbreaking. All right, I'll go next. I have one little one, and then one. So I have two. So I wanted to mention this. This is not Bruins related, but there is another professional hockey team in town. That's the Boston Fleet, and they just hired a new head coach, Chris Spar, because Courtney Kessel left to take the job as the head coach of Princeton. So they needed to replace her, and they also have to replace their captain at some point because Hillary Knight left as well. There's a lot of turnover this season with a lot of teams in the PWHL, but Boston in particular, losing your head coach and your captain, kind of a big deal. So Chris Spar comes from he was an assistant coach with the San Diego Gulls in the AHL, which is the Anaheim Ducks affiliate. So he was working on the men's side of stuff in the AHL, comes over. I haven't had a chance to talk to him yet, but just a little update on something else that happened with hockey in Boston. And then what I was originally planning on doing before that news came out yesterday was just to say you guys really outdid yourselves in the comments after last episode. There wasn't there wasn't any more amount of comments. It wasn't a higher amount of comments. It was just the quality of the comments. They were great. One of them called Scott sexy. So there's that. It was and then there was one also
that nickname's sticking, by the way. I think I can really see sexy Scott catching on.
Killer Beast HX5QP said, "Welcome to episode 463 of the Skate Podcast. I'm Brian DeFelice, joined by beautiful Bridget and sexy Scott McLaughlin, as well as handsome Harold." That's a comment, all right? I can't just let that go without saying anything. And then we got one that said, "You four are idiots." And, I'm okay if they want to call us idiots, but don't bring Harold into this, okay?
So here's what I had to say about that. And I texted you guys, but I think if Harold wants the screen time, he's got to be willing to take some criticism. Sorry, you don't get the limelight free. Like can't take the heat and get out of the kitchen.
But he did it was the anger, and he also called us knuckleheads. This commenter, he
I
said,
also agree.
"Why would you trade pasta for McDavie?" So it's a great comment.
First off, McDavie, yeah.
So
Which I don't even think we advocated for. I might have said like push comes to shove, I might have done that, but like that wasn't originally what we were talking about.
no, we said you'd probably have to, like, in the real world, like being realistic. There's not a whole lot that could get you McDavid, and it would probably have to include your best player. So anyway, we're knuckleheads, including Harold. And then of course, one said, "What's on your head?" Because I was wearing a headband that had a bow on it, and I thought for sure there was going to be at least one comment about it, and there was. And I can't believe Scott went in his burner and wrote that, but even though I already explained
Didn't that person call you Tupac or something?
something like that, yeah.
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 I was thinking Minnie Mouse. Like it was blue. It was blue, not red, but it was like very Minnie Mouse-ish.
It was a very cute little bow, and nope. So anyway, I knew I couldn't wear that and not get a comment, but so that one wasn't surprising. But anyway, you guys outdid yourselves in the comments after last episode. I had to say something.
Well, if people want to continue to call us idiots and knuckleheads, then wait no longer than this episode, because my opening shift is about something we'll do later on, which is a draft of our the top hockey movies of all time. And what's going to happen is Scott's going to grab his fedora, and he's going to pull names to set the draft order. It'll be a snake draft, and I'm not sure if it's going to be probably 3 movies a person. I don't know if there's a ton of movies to choose from, but I'm sure that there'll be a lot of subjectivity to go around for people to continue calling us knuckleheads. So yeah, that'll be something we do later on, and that's that.
Yeah, and it's funny that the prompt for that is that Happy Gilmore 2 is coming out on Friday on Netflix. We saw James Hagens was at the premiere. He met Adam Sandler, thanked him for drafting him. So, fully leaning in on the whole Happy Gilmore angle to him getting drafted. And which, raises the question, like, and we can get, let's say it's like for the draft, but like, does Happy Gilmore count as a hockey movie? It's like, it's clearly very big in hockey circles, and it's been kind of like all over the Bruins and NHL social accounts. But obviously it's a golf movie, but like, is it also a hockey movie? Can it qualify for this? We're gonna have to settle that.
It kind of reminds me of the argument that people have about Die Hard and being a Christmas movie. Now, I think that if somebody wants to say Happy Gilmore is not a hockey movie, I can very much see where you're coming from. But I do think that for the most part, people would probably say, yeah, that counts, because he's wearing a Bruins jersey the whole time. He's putting with a mini hockey stick putter. Of course, the first part of the movie has a hilarious hockey tryout scene. So, yeah, it's obviously a golf movie first, but I think it could be a little bit of both as well. We'll see if that cracks anybody's draft.
All right, can we start with this? This also was spurred by a comment. So we'll do this, then we'll do the Three-fer, then we'll do the snake draft for the movies. So there was a question that Scott brought up last podcast about because the Red Sox had the play that ended the game, the catcher's interference, and like he just barely nicked the glove, and that was a walk-off. That's how the game ended. The Red Sox lost. And the question was like, is there a hockey equivalent? And someone commented, and I want to make sure to get their name right here, that the first thing they thought of was the play where this was two playoffs ago. This was the last hurrah for Bergeron and Krejci against the Panthers, Game 6, and the puck is kind of like wobbling and bouncing, and DeBrusque goes to pick up his stick, and like they call it a hand pass, even though I went back and watched it again yesterday. I still think it was inconclusive, but they call it a hand pass, and the goal comes back, and it was the go-ahead goal. It was made it 3-2 in the second period for the Bruins in Game 6. They were up 3-2 in the series, so if that goal had counted and they kept the momentum that they had, maybe they win that series in game 6. So it was a tough one. And it hurt to watch back too, because every single person involved in the play, even though this was 2 seasons ago, is not on the team anymore. It was Carlos scored, Bergeron, Marchand, and DeBrusk were the forwards that were on the ice. And so it kind of just shows you that those little important plays are kind of, that didn't go the Bruins' way. There were so many of them in that series. Potentially the reason why we don't have any of those guys on the ice for the Bruins anymore. Trying to find who sent us that. Oh, it was Tim Solty 2898, and he said that was what it reminded him of. But what it prompted in my mind, I don't know if you wanted to comment on that at all, but
yeah, I mean, like so that's a good one in terms of like a disappointing play where you're just like, that probably should have counted. Obviously it didn't end a game, and in a way, like there's not really a way it could, that play specifically could end a game, because even if it was in overtime, like it just extends the game. It actually prevents it from not ending. But the other one, the one that I got on Twitter right away from someone was Marchand overskating the puck in the shootout in Philly.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah.
Just nicking it and having the game end that way, and like I wasn't even thinking of shootouts when I posed the question, so that wasn't really where my mind was. But yeah, but to me, like that's not. See, like I actually don't think that's a lame way for a game to end, which was the original question. I think it's a hilarious way for a game to end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though it was the Bruins and like maybe you kind of felt bad for Marchand, that was just like objectively hilarious.
Yeah, and I also like, if it was self-inflicted, I kind of like took those out of the question, because like we're kind of talking about like unlucky almost more than like something that you just effed up.
Well,
you just did it wrong.
Yeah, I mean the catcher's interference was self-inflicted though, no?
It was, but only so mildly that it was like it it
Yeah.
was a check swing, whatever. Like it wasn't like a hilariously bad thing like Marchand did, or like when I think I brought this up last episode when Omar came out of the net in overtime and
You're right.
got scored on in the playoffs. But yeah, so this comment and going back down this rabbit hole, I guess, prompted a question to me, because I watched it back. DeBrusk's hand, you can't tell if it really touches it. To me, it didn't seem.
I think it did. Like I remember at the time thinking like it clear. I haven't watched it back, but I remember at the time thinking like it clearly touches him. He doesn't push it, like he doesn't make a move to do anything with it, but it did touch his glove.
So but it didn't help Bergeron get the puck, I don't think. Like he was already skating onto the puck.
It didn't affect the play at all.
It didn't affect the play at all. And that's why I thought of this. And the question is, what is a rule change you want to see from the NHL? Because to me, and I've said this, whether it's right or wrong, it's just frustrating. I think a lot of fans would agree. Like when a goal comes back because of a rule that, it is in good spirit, like it normally would count, like it normally would make sense, but not in all situations. Like if a goal goes in and gets called back for something that did not affect the goal, like it didn't have an effect on the play at all, but because of the rule, like with this one of DeBrusk, it's considered a hand pass, even though there was no passing motion or anything like that. Like, is there a rule, say, like that you would want to see changed?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few. Like, this is a good one, and the offsides is a direct connection in that same spirit. And, like, that's been an ongoing debate, since they first introduced offsides reviews, is, like, should there be some sort of limit on how far back you can look into a play? Because as it is right now, it's a whatever else you think of it right now is a very clear black and white rule. If you're offsides and you don't reset in the build up to a goal, it's coming off the board. Period. Doesn't matter how long before. So if you're going to adjust it, you are by nature, you're going to introduce some gray area. Now, personally, I would be okay with that. Like, I think there should be some judgment involved of how much of, did it tangibly affect the play? And, to me, you could actually still go back a minute. If there's like a blatant offsides a minute before that allows you to gain possession in the O zone, I'm actually still okay going back that far. Where I would actually like to have some gray area is when it's like half an inch off sides and the guy was trying to tag up, or it was like still doing enough where he slows down, he adjusts his entry into the zone and just happens to be half an inch off sides. Like, that's where I would like for refs to like have some discretion to be like, no, that didn't directly affect the play where the goal stands. But I get why the league won't go there, because then you're always going to hit a line of like, okay, well, where is that gray area? And now you're introducing human judgment into it. And I think they feel like at some point that would introduce its own mess. And so
can I give you
they just stay away.
I have a different version of a rule change for the same rule, which is that and I didn't realize it was going to start a feud between me and one of the video replay people, but so sometimes people get mad when you say things on the broadcast, but basically it came from, there was a college hockey game last year that I was broadcasting, and there was one team that was just dominating for the first, say, 8 or so minutes of the period. They bring the puck in. Apparently it was offside. It was noticeably offside on the review, not live. So it was a correct challenge, right? Like, cause it was offside and the goal did come back, but the puck was in the zone for over a minute and the defending team had several chances to clear. They had possession. They tried to clear. They couldn't get it past the blue line. They couldn't get it out. And to me, the rule change could be, if you had a chance, like if you got possession, like clear possession and couldn't get it out of the zone, that negates the offside, because then you had a chance to get that away. And that's what makes me mad, is when like, all right, this was just your fault. Like, you should have been able to clear this puck or transition or, use your possession because you got it back. So to me, I would like the rule change to be, if there was a chance, like possession and a chance to clear or something like that, then that's negated, because it no longer is affecting what is the cycle that is happening, because that cycle's done. You broke it up, and we're talking about a completely separate play right now, and it was self-inflicted.
I like that too.
Can I give 2 other suggested rule changes from this chair here?
Yeah.
The first one,
sorry.
the first one is, you know me, it's going to be aesthetic related, right? So the first one is home team gets to choose whatever uniform they want to wear. I think that home teams wearing white is something I would be in favor of in general, because you're allowed to see the visiting colors from around the league, not just every visiting team's white jersey. If you're gonna have to see the same uniform every game at home, it might as well just be your team's, so you can see the different colors from around the league. But I think a happy medium is just home team getting to choose whatever color they want to wear. And that's cool, because you turn on the TV, Bruins are playing in Buffalo, or, Chicago's coming to Boston. You have no idea what uniform matchup to expect. And I think that's pretty cool. Any comments on that before I go to my second rule change proposal?
No, I like that. Like, I've supported that for a while, where it's something I think the NBA gets that part of it right, where you can change up home road colors. The NBA has too many alternate jerseys, which I don't want, but like even NFL has that now, where some teams still wear their darks at home all the time, but you do see more teams now like change it up from week to week, or a couple times a year they might wear white at home. So yeah, I like that one.
And doesn't the NFL kind of do that too? Like, I feel like, well, maybe I'm thinking of more NFC teams. I feel like in the like the Cowboys, for example, I feel like,
so
you don't know if they're wearing
Cowboys
white
are the
or
exception.
blue.
Yeah, the Cowboys are the exception that they always wear white at home, and they're the only ones who do.
Okay. My second rule change proposal. Speaking of the Marchand blunder, that was funny in Scott's perspective, which it was. I'd like to get rid of the shootout altogether. I think when the NHL came back in 05-06 from the 04-05 lockout, I thought it was a unique twist to get more eyes in the game, especially following a full season lockout. I was also very much a kid, and I thought that was cool to see the top players in the world go into a shootout. I think that since then, and for a while now, I think the shootout's been very outdated. I don't like games ending in a shootout anymore. I think it's just kind of boring, first of all. And I'd rather just see 3-on-3 extend maybe to 7 minutes. And if you can't get a winner after 7 minutes of 3-on-3 hockey, then you deserve a tie. And maybe that changes the point system, obviously. The shootout's just been wearing on me.
I hate ties.
I know. Then maybe extend it to 3-on-3 for 10 minutes. I don't think the players would want that. And I think it opens up a possibility for people getting injured and stuff like that because they're tired. But shootouts back in 06-07, I think excited everybody for a brief amount of time. I think at this point, I think they're about a decade outdated. I don't find them entertaining anymore. And to be honest, since the league's gone to 3-on-3 overtime for 5 minutes, you're seeing a lot less of them because the games are ending more so. I don't even know how many shootouts the Bruins had last year. It wasn't a lot. I'm just kind of done with it. I'd rather them just finish the game on a hockey play, essentially, is what I would like to see happen. Or if it's a tie, it's a tie. I think that if you're doing 7 minute, even 5-minute 3-on-3 overtime, like I said, I'd be willing to bet that shootouts around the league are down. But if you would extend it to 7 minutes of 3-on-3 overtime, I don't think you'd see many ties. But if you do see a tie, then so be it.
Like maybe like 5 minutes and 5 minutes, like you switch sides or something. But still, I don't want it to end in a tie. So then it would still have to go to a shootout, probably, in my mind, because when I was in college, that college hockey could end in a tie at that point in time. It's not the rule anymore. And I think I complained about it at the end of every single broadcast that ended in a tie. I just really hate it. There has to be a winner. I'm sorry. I don't want to sit around.
You know what's even worse in college hockey now, though, is the games that it goes down as a tie for like the pairwise national purposes, but then they go to a shootout for conference standings, and it's like, so it counts as one thing nationally and one thing locally in your conference. I hate that even more. Like, pick a lane. Either shootouts count across the board, or don't have them at all and just end in ties.
Like soccer, for example, right? Soccer, a shootout is kind of a spectacle. There's so many. There's a lack of probably high-end scoring chances throughout the course of a soccer game that it's always refreshing, I think. And Scott is a big soccer buff, so maybe that's an inaccurate statement. But
I was gonna say it's
less so than hockey, probably.
It's similar to the shootout where it's very divisive. Like I think in soccer, it's like people understand why you need it because you could have a game just go for like 2 hours before someone scores, and that would be very boring for everyone. But there's a lot of hatred for penalties.
But generally speaking, there's less offensive production in soccer than in hockey. Like, you're not craving at the end of a hockey game a puck going into the back of the net. You've probably seen it 3 or 4 times already throughout that game or more. I just think there's 2 things that come to my mind, Bridget, and I totally respect you wanting to have a winner. But the first thing that comes to mind, I just don't think the product's good anymore. I don't think the shootout is an exciting product anymore. And I understood it early on because they came out of a full season lockout and they were trying something new. And even the first 5 years, it was fine. But as time goes on, I think it's boring, and I'd rather see a game end on a hockey play. And yeah, if 2 teams tie after 60 minutes of 5-on-5 and 7 minutes of 3-on-3, let's call it 7 minutes, it's like, then you deserve a tie. Whatever.
Can I offer as a counter? There are lots of games now where 3-on-3 is boring.
Yeah, I was gonna say that.
That's fair too, Scott. Yeah,
you get more and more teams who just cycle back, hold on to the puck, kill time.
Good point.
And when you get 2 teams that actually want to try to win and play that way, 3-on-3 is awesome. When you get the teams who play the math game of like just keep cycling to hold on to possession, I mean, and there are ways you could address that. They haven't yet, but like, you could say like you can't regroup at past center ice or something like that. But until they put that rule in place, like you risk a 7-minute 3-on-3 potentially being really boring.
No,
Yeah, it
that's
can
a
be.
great point.
Remember, so when the Bean Pot changed rules, and it used to be it was just 20-minute periods of overtime, and it would go until the middle of the night, which I actually really liked that.
Which
But
is how it still should be.
I agree. But they changed it to just the regular like 3-on-3 overtime, whatever. And Boston College did this. This was 2 years ago because I remember Cutter Gauthier was out there. And they kept cycling back, and because they knew they were going to probably win the shootout. So like they just were trying to waste time to get to the shootout. Because they had a lot of really skilled shooters, and it bit them in the butt. And they turned it over with like, I want to say like 8 seconds left after just playing this whole like keep away game, and they lost in the 3-on-3 overtime. So that was a weird one. I was like, oh man, that backfired big time. But it was very frustrating to watch up until that point. You almost felt like they kind of deserved it because it was like, you're making this really boring. Come on, do something. And then that happened. So.
I have 2 other rule changes I want to throw out. One is switching to a 3-point system. So regulation win 3 points, overtime or shootout win 2 points, overtime or shootout loss 1 point, regulation loss 0 points. I think it would incentivize, because it still has never made any sense to me that some games are worth 2 points and some games are worth 3 points. Like a game that ends in regulation there's only 2 points up for grabs, but then you get to overtime and all of a sudden there's a third point that just magically appears that gets to get handed out in the standings. I've never liked it. I've never understood it. Like the 3-point system, which now a lot of college hockey uses, makes way more sense to me, and I think it I think it incentivizes teams to try to win in regulation, not just play for overtime. So that would be one. And then the other one, and I feel like every time I bring this up, people are like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But yet I feel like I'm the only person who cares about it. If a team takes a penalty at the end of a period, and so the power play starts at the start of a new period, it should start in the offensive zone, like every other power play. It shouldn't start at center ice.
Yeah.
Like I don't get why. Okay, so just because you get a power play at the start of a period, you are at a disadvantage by having to start at center ice instead of in the zone like every other power play.
Yeah, you probably say like 10 seconds come off before like, or longer if you lose the face off. But
I never thought of that, Scott. That's a good point.
Yeah. See, that's the reaction every time I mention this to people.
Yeah, no,
and then,
I've never
no one
thought of
ever
that.
cares, and nothing happens.
I thought you were just a knucklehead, but look at you. You have some good ideas.
Every now and then, I've got a couple rattling around.
You know what also always bothers me as a fan, and this is not a rule change thing, and I'm not even mad at the game. It's just more of something as a fan when you're watching. When you're watching the team you cheer for, and they finally get a power play, but it's abbreviated, right, because of the stoppage of the period, and it's like so say there's like 40 seconds left in the period and your team gets a power play. It's like if they don't score in those first 40 seconds, it's like as a fan, for the most part, you're like, well, they're not going to score in the last minute of it at the start of the next period. It's like fresh ice. It's probably the puck sticking, whatever. Like to Scott's point, open central neutral zone face off. That's not a rule thing. That's just a timing thing. It is what it is. I'm not going to bitch about your team getting a power play, but you always know those power plays more likely than not aren't going to end in a goal.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's more. So comment if you're, if you want to, if you've thought of another rule change that you, if you're listening right now and you're like, no, like I have this great idea. Normally we do get some good ones that we hadn't thought of. So
yeah, I mean, there's a couple other ones around like special teams that I think are fun, and I don't know if I fully support bringing them in, but like, if you score on a delayed penalty, you still get the power play. Like I think that could be good.
College hockey just got rid of that.
Yeah, which I don't like. Like I kind of liked that college hockey had that.
I liked that rule. I thought it was good. And then are you going to say that the PWHL?
The PWHL, the jailbreak? Yeah. If you score a shorthanded goal, the penalty's over.
Love it. I love that rule.
Scott, what did you think about the eliminating of the 2-line pass in hockey and that's an impact on the game?
It's so necessary. Like, it's so weird. Like, if you watch clips of the 2-line pass era, then you go back, it's like, can you believe, like, if you could be just inside your own blue line and you couldn't pass it past center ice? It's like, it's so bizarre to like go back and think about and watch.
I know.
Like, one of my favorite plays in hockey is the long stretch pass, like to spring a guy on a breakaway or an odd man rush. And to think that like we just didn't have that is so weird.
Well, especially when you're out there. Sorry, Bridget, go ahead.
The pasta billiard pass that like he shot from like the very end of the Bruins defensive end, and he just like banked it perfectly off the wall to, was it Zaka? I don't know.
It was Lindholm. It was Hampus Lindholm to Pasternak.
Okay, yeah. It was just like a pool shot, like and it, that wouldn't have counted. That would not have been allowed.
When you're watching the game on television or even in person, especially if you're higher up, like the ice, it looks bigger than it is when you're on the ice. Like when you're at ice level, like two lines, it's like it's nothing.
Yeah.
When was that rule change implemented? Was that like early 2000s?
Yeah, I think so. That seems like about the right era.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so yeah, there's rule changes, suggestions, proposals.
Oh, that was a lockout change. So
really?
05-06 was the first season without it.
I mean, so think back to like how that catered those defensively structured Devils teams of the 2000s with Scott Stevens.
That rule was in place for 62 years. 1943 it first went into effect.
I mean, you could think about how much easier it is to defend a neutral zone. Like you know your opponent can only go so far, so you're just bottlenecking them. Like, especially like I said, you have a guy like Scott Stevens on those Devils teams just patrolling the neutral zone. It's anyway, that's a change for the better. I think, like I said, I think shootouts I'm kind of getting over. But Scott, you raise a good point. Like 3-on-3 gets monotonous and boring, and so I'm open to options there. And I do like the system you suggested, the 3-2-1. I think that's good incentivization for teams to win regulation. And it does punish teams for losing, right? So yeah,
there's precedent for it. Other leagues do it, so it's not just like crazy out there idea.
And then whoever wins say this got implemented next year, whoever wins the Gavin McKenna sweepstakes would be also setting a new points record. Obviously, everybody in front of him would be too. That's the point that would be lost on people. But long live the Bruins point record from 22-23 if that were to happen.
I feel like Bruins fans might be happy to see that one go. Like,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that was. Hey, by the way, Brian,
I see Kuzi, by the way, behind you. There he is. Has he been there the whole time? How am I just seeing him? Wow.
No, I had the camera turned a little bit, and I turned it towards him. This was a surprise because my other one fell down, and I was like, I'm gonna put the Kuzi one up.
Oh yeah.
So now he's back there. I don't know how long he's gonna be back there, but that was a little surprise for you.
Love it. Appreciate it. All right, what's next, guys?
Well, we can circle back to my Three-fer Thursday. So I had, as I think, the three most important things to get out: Jeremy Swayman bouncing back, Marco Sturm proving he's the right head coach for this team, and James Hagen's looking like a legit number one center of the future. Do you guys have anything else? Like what? Whether you think something should replace one of those three, or even just key developments beyond those.
I think those are three really good ones, Scott. I mean, obviously the Hagens one, if we're gonna count that as, if we're gonna focus strictly on the on ice product in Boston next year, that's the only way that might get pushed to the side for a third one there. But in a similar vein, I feel like a young forward prospect not named James Hagens has to make an impact on the Boston roster next year. So I'm looking at a Matt Patra first and foremost. Obviously, Fraser Minton is somebody we expect to get some minutes. What does Fabian Lysell make of his opportunity in training camp? What about, albeit a little bit older, but like a Matej Blumel or and I'm forgetting on his first name, but last name Steves they got from Toronto. Like could one of those historically
Alex Steves.
Alex Steves could one of those historically prolific AHL scorers, can they make of an opportunity? Somebody has to step up. That is 25 years of age or younger, in my opinion. We all expect James Higgins to be one of those players, but he can't do it himself as the next wave. So I want somebody to step up. I mean, I think getting back the structure and identity and the special teams, that probably falls under the Marco Sturm camp. So I'll just leave that one alone. But yeah, I would say somebody else besides Higgins, somebody youthful, has to step up offensively.
Scott, what was your first one?
Swayman bouncing back.
Swayman
Okay,
bouncing
so
back.
I have a third one that I think could maybe replace the Higgins one. And it is establishing new on ice leadership. Like, so finding your voices that are going to be your voices going forward. So that means, like, really, because Marchand was here for such a big chunk of the season, Pastrnak and McAvoy only really had to step up in a bigger way at the end of the year after the trade deadline. And I think that there's still a lot of work probably in just feeling comfortable and having that role for a longer amount of time. Obviously, they need to choose another captain as well. So establishing your captain, establishing your voices in the room. As we mentioned, some of those guys were out. Marchand, obviously, but Coyle and Carlo, I think, were also guys that would fall under that. So getting those, just kind of almost a new hierarchy, new chemistry, a new way of working through what the leadership group is going to look like and how it can be effective.
Yeah, and McAvoy really didn't even get the chance to do that correctly because he was injured, he was out, he was rehabbing, he wasn't with the team on the road on trade deadline day. Like, Pastrnak at least got legit, like, on the job learning experience. McAvoy, really didn't get that opportunity, which actually kind of ties into one of the other ones I was debating, including, which is McAvoy and Hampus Lindholm, A, being healthy, B, staying healthy, and C, playing really well like the legit 1 and 2 defensemen that they can be. I think that's so important. Not obviously for this season, yes, but also moving forward. It's like those two guys are your rocks on the back end, and they need to play like it. They need to look like it, and they need to stay on the ice in order to be able to do that.
To that point, Scott, how would you and Bridget, how would you guys classify or analyze Charlie McAvoy's on ice performance, take injuries aside? How would you categorize his performance since the conclusion of the 22-23 season? So the centennial season and then the first half of last year. Because if we rewind the clocks back to the centennial season, there were times there as well where he was not maybe what we were used to seeing at times. It feels like it's been a little bit longer than just last year for him. So, because I remember heading into last year, we talked about, like, can McAvoy kind of bounce back? Can he finally hit that 60-point plateau that he's been so close to a few times? And then we all know what happened last year. So it seems to me like I want to see, and again, there's the McAvoy we saw at Four Nations that was just dominant and with the best players in the world on the ice. And it just makes you want to see that player more often. So it's a great suggestion, Scott. And I know you didn't go with it, but I can see why it's on your mind right now.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, to describe his play, like, inconsistent, up and down, because I do think there were some ups in there too. Like, I see people like make comments like McAvoy's been bad for a few years. And I'm like, I don't think that's accurate. I don't think he's been bad. I think there's been some bad games or bad stretches. I also think there's been a lot of good.
Underwhelming maybe could be a word to describe it.
Underwhelming works. But yeah, you want to see more consistently high level play from him. And there's extenuating circumstances there, whether it has been some injuries, especially with his shoulder that he's battled, even beyond the infection. That was something he was dealing with. Like, again, you need that to be healthy. Like, Charlie McAvoy without a healthy shoulder doesn't really get to play like Charlie McAvoy. Like, he's a physical player. You know, he needs to be able to feel confident that he can throw his body around. And then like the Centennial year, I think Matt Grzelcyk's play really dropped off that season. Like that's a factor. I'm sure that affected McAvoy, who was still partnered with him the vast majority of that season. You know, at other times it was like they would try Derek Forbort with them. That wasn't a fit. Last year it's Nikita Zadorov just coming in and struggling early on. And then it's a young kid in Mason Lohrei who is clearly still learning, but like that's going to be the same thing this year. You know, maybe that holds McAvoy back a little, but he needs to be good enough to elevate whoever he's with. Like he still needs to be at a high level. And then, yeah, if there's limitations with your partner, like you still got to find a way to get the most out of them and, you know, still be a good pairing for this team. So, yeah, I think he's been a little bit inconsistent when he's been out there the last couple of years.
Before we, Bridget, I'll keep that offline, I suppose, unless you want to talk about it. But Scott, to that point, and Bridget, I want you guys, both of your opinions on this. We've seen McAvoy play with an array of defensive partners. We've seen him play with somebody like Hampus Lindholm, who is, when he was going in his prime, like certainly like a very high end defenseman, right? We've seen him play with Derek Forbort, who's more or less like a third pair shutdown defenseman should be. We've seen him play with Matt Grzelcyk, like Scott mentioned, who is like the smaller, puck moving, strong skating, you know, borderline, you know, at times, sometimes very much so, top four defenseman. And then Nikita Zadorov, like the big guy that's not the most mobile, but kind of a stay at home, but can, you know, whatever, play that role. Then Mason Lohrei, who's like the younger player that's very, very raw defensively, but has offensive upside. So we've seen McAvoy play with all sorts of partners to the point you're making, Scott. What mold, what would you like to see a defensive partner mold look like for Charlie McAvoy? Do you think he would work best with somebody where McAvoy can be the alpha? Do you think he works best with somebody where they can kind of both, you know, tug on the same rope as an alpha, like a Lindholm, for example? Like, what do you think would make him thrive? I know it remains to be seen, so we're kind of guessing here, but just knowing the type of player he is, do you think he would thrive knowing he's the guy on a pair, or do you think he would like somebody who's more his equal?
It's a good question. I mean, obviously, like he's been successful in kind of both spots, right? I mean, early in his career is with Chara, and that starts off with Chara being the alpha, and then kind of while they're paired together, it starts to flip where like I couldn't pinpoint the exact date, but I remember having these conversations at the time, you know, obviously not on here. We weren't doing the podcast yet, but just with people of like, hey, I think McAvoy is actually the better player on that pairing now. Like that kind of came while they were playing together. And then obviously with Grzelcyk, McAvoy was always the alpha. Like he was clearly the top guy in that pairing. I think stylistically, at least in the regular season, now whether it can continue in playoff hockey is a related but almost separate debate. But I think McAvoy's best stretches in the regular season come with someone who can play more of an offensive game with him. Like, I think now multiple coaches have tried the idea of like, well, maybe put more of a stay at home security blanket with him, and that frees up McAvoy. And it never really seems to quite work that way. I think what actually seems to free up McAvoy is when he's with someone else who can carry their weight offensively and in transition. And because then you get like a whole 5-man unit just attacking more. And I think that brings out McAvoy's strengths. So on this team, that would be Mason Lohrei, which is why even with Lohrai's deficiencies, I do actually want to see that pairing. And it is how I would start the season.
Yeah. And I guess the other part of it too is the Hampus Lindholm side of like him being healthy and him being back to the level that we saw him play at in the beginning of, was it the 22-23 season when McAvoy was out? That was probably the best he's played as a Bruin, which is kind of a high bar because that was, I mean, he looked like he was going to have, he was the best defenseman for a good chunk of that season, obviously with McAvoy out.
He finished 5th in Norris Trophy voting.
He was just on his game. He was great transitioning offensively. Really was a bummer when he got hurt last season when he did, because he was one of the only guys that was still kind of clicking offensively, and he, because at the time team was struggling. That was as we were all debating whether or not Monty was going to get fired, and it was, it was a low point. And then Lindholm goes down, and that's a big loss. And so him coming back is and being fully healthy is really a true question mark to me, because he was supposed to come back in last season and wasn't able to, because there was an issue with the fix to his knee. It was uncomfortable and had to go back and, do a little maintenance on that again. It pushed him back to being able, from when he could start to really truly, I don't think he ever practiced in full contact, right? Like, he was back to skating during the season, and then they called it off.
Yeah, he practiced, but I don't think he ever, I don't remember if he shed the no contact jersey at any point.
I don't think he did. I think he just was non-contact. Maybe I'm wrong, but then he had to take a step back. He got off the ice, and I don't believe he got back on until May. Like, obviously that was in the off season, but like I said, he had the setback, so he'll be ready for training camp. He's expected to be, full contact for that. But knee injuries are serious, and how his body recovers from it, and the surgery that he had, is sometimes that can be really difficult for guys.
Yeah, well, especially the fractured kneecap. Like, I think I probably even said it on here. Like, right when Rich Keefe reported that, and obviously it ended up being correct, so credit to Scoops Keefe. I was like, man, I really hope that's just like a hairline fracture, like a very minor thing. And it turned out it was more serious than that. Like, it's a tough one. And not to be like Debbie Downer, but I'm very much of the mindset of like, I'm going to need to see him look like Hampus Lindholm and like skating great and all that, because unfortunately, like, we've seen examples before where guys really never quite get back right from this. Like Kevin Miller, obviously being the most famous example, or infamous, but there were extra circumstances there too. Like, he pushed himself, and he would even admit this, basically harder than he should have, because he wanted to get back for the playoffs, and ultimately that was the wrong approach. So they have definitely played this much safer with Hampus, and really taken the time that he needs. But I don't know about you guys, but like, I'm still kind of going to be like holding my breath until you see like, all right, now it's been like several really good days of training camp, and he looks really good out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think so too.
I agree. The good news is like he didn't end up playing hockey at the end of last season.
Yeah.
So I mean, he has had as much time. I mean, by the time the regular season comes around, he'll have been on the shelf for about 10 and a half months. So I mean, hopefully time heals for him. But I just think back to when the Bruins acquired him at the trade deadline back in 2022. I believe their decor at the time was some combination of McAvoy, Grzelcyk, Carlo, Jeremy Lauzon, maybe Zaboral, Forbert was in the mix. But my point is, McAvoy was like, it was McAvoy, and then it was a cast of others, right, that had different strengths and weaknesses, but none of them were really elite. I remember the first game that Lindholm played for the Bruins was at home against Tampa Bay, and he just immediately jumped off the page. He was a one-man breakout, and he had a phenomenal game. Maybe it was a boost of being, playing your first game with somebody, but it was immediate. Oh, wow. Like, this is what the Bruins have been missing, like somebody else to go along with McAvoy to carry the load on the blue line. So, that like he's a very impactful player when he's going. To your guys' point, we'll see if that can happen for them, because if he can be that player for them, then yeah, it changes their blue line around. I mean, you missed him, you missed McAvoy for, let's call it, just under half of last season. Now, I still think they're a true top 4 defenseman short, but I mean, I would a lot's been talked about the Bruins forward grouping and how, yeah, it's a bottom. It's probably on paper a bottom 5, 6 forward group in the league. Like even teams that are projected to finish worse than the Bruins, like San Jose and Anaheim, if we're talking forward groupings, their forward groupings are deeper. It's just that Boston's blue line has a McAvoy and a Lindholm, but those teams don't. The
Well,
Bruins,
and the Bruins have a Pasternak, and a
of
lot of those
course,
teams don't.
no, of course, but he's one guy of 12,
Yeah.
right? So I guess my point is the Bruins offensive group on paper might be it is a bottom 10 team on paper, let's call it, right? But
Yeah.
their blue line on paper, middle of the league, maybe upper middle of the league. So
yeah, like that's one thing we kind of talked about this before. Like after all the moves, go through like the daily face-off lineups. There aren't a lot of deep blue lines out there. Like you'll notice that pretty quickly. Like there's some, but you're right. Like I think on paper, yeah, Bruins are top half at worst, I would think. Now they got to play like it, like you got to go and do it. But yeah, that's not a bottom of the league group, at least on paper.
No, if healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
if healthy and if playing without limitation. So with that said, Bridget Scott, let's get to the final segment of today's episode, which will be a draft of our favorite hockey movies. So Scott will randomize the order. It'll be a snake draft, and I think we'll do
I
three.
need number one.
We'll do
I need-
three picks a person. Does that sound right, Scott? Ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll do three. Yeah, we'll do snake draft, 3 a person. So it won't. So I guess for snake, like someone's gonna be at the back, but like whatever, that's fine. Okay. All right. First pick is going to be. Can't read it because my lighting's bad, but that says Brian.
Hey.
Ah,
Hey.
dang it.
Hey. Bridget, if you want to trade me your
Second
next 3
pick.
picks for the first overall pick.
Okay, I will.
You can't read it, but that says Scott,
You can't.
and Bridget is the third pick.
I'm so screwed. I told you I have like a number one, and then after that, I'm like all over the place. Yeah, I will trade you all my picks, Brian, for
Bridget,
number one.
Bridget, back-to-back picks is pretty good. It's in a short
I
snake
don't
draft.
know. Well, the one I want's gonna be gone by then.
You never know.
I'll trade you all my picks.
You never know.
Just give me one.
You never know. MVP might be available first overall. You never know. Or third overall.
Oh,
All right.
I guess
Well-
there's no deal to be had here.
Well, let's get this cracking because we're already 52 minutes in, and I will kick things off right away with Slapshot.
That also would have been my number one pick. So was hoping it would fall. I think there's a clear top 2, unfortunately for Bridget. So
Yeah.
with the number 2 pick, I will take Miracle.
You jerk.
It's a great one. It's a great one.
Knew that's the one I wanted.
I honestly was. It was. It's just tough not to go Slapshot. It's such a classic. I mean, Miracle really is like one of my favorite movies. But hey, it is what it is. You want McDavid? You want Eichel? You gotta go McDavid. It is what it is.
And now here I am with pick number 3 and 4. Okay. I'm not gonna consider Happy Gilmore a hockey movie. Or are we or are we not?
Well, it
Because
depends. Are you drafting for position? Are you drafting for need? Are you drafting the best player available? What are you doing?
Is it disqualified though?
You want to take MVP because it's a hockey movie? Go for it. Leave Happy Gilmore on the board. If Happy Gilmore falls to me at 9, I'm probably going to take him or whatever it is. So
yeah, well, that's why the question is, does it count? Are we just going to say yes?
I think if someone wants to draft it, they gotta make the case for it.
I mean, you've been talking to your scouts for 6 months. What do they think?
I talked to.
You've been talking to your scouts for 6 months. What do they think?
Oh yeah. Well, what I'm hearing is that it is. There is a hockey stick in it.
I think it might shake up the board if you did. Go with your gut here.
So I think I'm gonna do. I mean, some of these make me have to like really think back to my childhood and like which of these hockey movies did I like more as a kid? Because obviously Mighty Ducks was a very when I was a kid, I loved that movie. So I feel like I got to use that with one of my 2 picks here. So I'm gonna go Mighty Ducks and then Happy Gilmore because I'm stealing it from you guys out of spite.
That's a hell of a 3-4 combo, I think.
Brian, you want to team up and outvote her on Happy Gilmore? No, I'm just kidding.
No.
That'd be really mean.
It would be mean. I'm already struggling over here.
So the 5 spot is interesting. Man. There's a few different ways here, and there's one I would hope would fall to me in the last round, but I don't think we've ever talked about it, so I don't like Brian might really like it or he might just let it go, but the movie I'm just gonna take the movie I want here, and that is Mystery Alaska.
Okay. All right, that's a good one. That's a good one, Scott.
That wasn't even on the list that I had just looked up.
I gotta consult with my scouts here, and that may or may not have been on our board, so we'll have to take a look here.
No, it is here. There's
what's crazy? You know what's crazy about Mystery Alaska is that so stars Russell Crowe and came like right in the middle of him having one of the most incredible runs, like acting runs, filmography runs in history. So like in 1997, he's in LA Confidential, which is excellent. 99 is when Mystery Alaska comes out. He's also in The Insider. And then 2000, you get Gladiator, 01, A Beautiful Mind, 03, Master and Commander. And it's like all these like incredibly critically acclaimed movies. And then just like Mystery Alaska jammed right in the middle of it. I love that Russell Crowe did that.
Yeah, no, it was a great choice too, because it was a hell of a movie. All right, well, let's see. If this was football movies, the options would be a little bit more selective. Even baseball movies, I feel like hockey movies, there's only so many. But I think 6th overall, I'm gonna go with a young Rob Lowe and Patrick Swayze, and we're gonna go young blood here. 6th overall, and young blood I think is, surprisingly, I don't know if a lot of hockey fans have probably seen young blood, but it's not readily available. I tried watching it recently, and like it's not on any streaming service. I don't even know if it's on YouTube to pay for, but if you haven't seen young blood, it's closer to the ilk of kind of like, it's not really like Slapshot, but it's like an old school like hockey vibe movie. So I'm gonna go Youngblood with 6 overall. 7th overall, I gotta go to the kid in me here, and it's tough to choose from these two, but I think I'm gonna go with D3 Mighty Ducks. I like that movie because even though Gordon Bombay isn't around for as much of it, Coach O'Ryan was one of the all-time head coaching replacements. Nobody could have taught those kids about life more than Coach O'Ryan. So I really like that movie. I'll go D3 Mighty Ducks.
Man.
All right. So for my final pick, 8th overall, there's still a couple to debate here. But I am going to go with Goon. Somewhat more recent entry to the. I mean, it is. How old is Goon now? It's like 20 years old now.
No, I don't think so. Wasn't Sega?
Oh, 2011. So 14 years old.
I really don't know what I'm taking with 9. Jeez.
Happy Gilmore
yeah,
too. Just hope it's good.
Like I didn't quite love Goon as much as I think a lot of people did, but I did like it, and I think it's a good addition to the hockey movie canon.
Okay. All right. That's a good one, Scott. Bridget, there's still a There's still a Ducks franchise one out there.
There is.
Which isn't, that's not a bad pick at 9, I'll tell you.
I was just like scrolling through. There's also sequels to some of the other ones here too. But
well, Slapshot 2 is an abomination, so
yeah,
don't take
I was
that.
not gonna pick that. So I'm just scrolling through just to see if there's anything funny, and I've never even heard of this. It's National Lampoon's Pucked.
You've never heard of it, but it's you're drafting it.
No, I'm not.
You have to
No,
at least-
I'm not drafting it. I'm asking
Oh,
you.
okay,
Do you know what it
okay.
is? Because I'm definitely not picking it. It looks like the cover of like a porno.
Scott's
Yeah,
a
well,
Lampoon
that's
guy.
like most National Lampoon movies. So I actually never saw Pucked. Has Bon Jovi in it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I cannot attest to its cinematic value.
I'm not taking it.
I'm guessing it's not very high.
I don't think so. Oh man. All right. Well,
You get a couple safe options here at 9, Bridget. There's 2 at least I can think of. Yeah.
well, I think
And
this,
I think you've seen both of them.
can I go to some? I am going to choose a funny one. Okay. We're going most valuable primate here.
There you go. Nice
So
overall.
D2 doesn't get drafted. Interesting.
I mean, I was yeah.
I was strongly considering it, and
Me too.
with my last pick, but
It, like I said, D2 is great. I mean, it's or like you said, D2 is great. I like D3. Just I wasn't lying. Like I really liked some of the lessons about life in D3, and I just but the junior goodwill games and Team Iceland. I mean, the beach ball scene, and the ice is ours now. It just sounds like Arnold, the Terminator in that scene, the Iceland coach. So that's a good one, but it gets left off the list for MVP.
I should also note that we decided off air, but we'll bring it on air. We decided that documentaries didn't count. We were just doing studio movies. But there are some great hockey documentaries. The Russian Five, about the 5 Russian players on the Red Wings teams of the early and mid 90s, and kind of covers the like the first Russians who came into the NHL. Red Army, about the Soviet national team and their dominance and how that program was built. Forgotten Miracle, about the 1960 U.S. Olympic gold medal team. That's a good one. But we what was the Red Wings Avalanche one called? Blood Feud, did they call it? That was a good one.
There's also, did you mention Tough Guy that like followed like Probert?
Oh yeah.
That was a good one. There's also a movie. It's not a documentary, but in good faith I couldn't choose it because I've never seen it. So I just feel like that would be cheating. But some of our older listeners may have seen this movie. It's from 1971. It's called Face Off, and it was a Canadian feature film. And I actually posted some footage of it on Twitter, like over the last year, because they actually take true B-roll footage of like the Maple Leafs teams of the early 70s. You see Bobby Orr and Phil Esposito and Derek Sanderson. It's up close like footage of game B-roll, and I think they combine that with like a non-fictional storyline about an actor who's playing a Maple Leafs player. So there's some cinematic trickery going on. But if you've seen Face Off from 1971, I just want to shout that one out. I've never seen it, so I couldn't choose it, but that's out there as well. Non-documentary option.
I mean, if we really wanted to stretch the definition, like if Happy Gilmore's counting as a hockey movie, there is a great Boston movie from the 70s called The Friends of Eddie Coyle that has a famous scene that takes place at a Bruins game, and same deal, features like actual footage of the game. I won't spoil it because I actually do highly recommend that movie to people, to anyone who hasn't seen it. And that scene plays a critical role in the movie.
All right, no spoilers then.
What happens around it, but not a hockey movie. But if you really want to stretch it, I think that the funniest possible option would be sudden death. I think I mentioned this when we had DJ Bean on. Remember we were talking about, because he brought up Most Valuable Primate actually, and somehow we were talking about like weird hockey movies, but sudden death revolves around like a terrorist plot at a Penguins Blackhawks Stanley Cup final game.
Wait. Threat level midnight.
Stars Jean-Claude Van Damme and features like the Penguins mascot in a like in an action sequence that takes place in the tunnels of the Penguins arena.
There's also another funny one that just popped into my mind. It wouldn't crack this list, but it was a Disney movie from like 2000 or thereabouts. It was called HE Double Hockey Sticks. Do you guys remember that? It was with have you ever seen Boy Meets World? You know Eric Matthews from Boy Meets World, and then
I think I remember this.
And then like Jack Hunter, who's Sean's brother. His name in real life is something Lawrence, but they're in the movie. And then is it Rhea Perlman? Is that the lady who's married to Danny DeVito? She's Carla in Cheers. She's in Matilda. Is that her name?
Gone a little deep for me here. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Well,
Rhea Perlman.
Yeah, so she plays the devil, and the kid who plays Eric Matthews in Boy Meets World, he's like her like administrative assistant, whatever, and she owns a NHL team called the Devils. Of course, it's not the New Jersey Devils, and then the other kid plays for some team called the Angels. Anyway, it's a movie. It wouldn't crack this list, but that's out there too. Clearly, you guys haven't seen it, but I'm actually surprised because you guys are around my age. I mean, both of you. So.
Can I change mine? Can I change my ninth pick to threat level midnight?
The picks are locked in. So.
Well, but Michael Scarn saves the NHL All-Star game.
That's a passion project. It's not a feature film. That doesn't count.
It needs to be a real film. I would watch it.
All right. So what we'll do is we should either somehow make a graphic or just post the list to our Twitter.
I'm gonna get so much hate for mine because I didn't take it very seriously.
and we'll have to get the audience's opinion to see who wins the draft.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Bridget, like you're just gonna have to, your decisions come with consequences. So if you think you did poorly on this, like you're just gonna have to live with that shame. And unfortunately, I don't think you'll ever be able to get past it. I think this is gonna just gonna stick to you.
This might ruin my whole career.
Just blame Harold. So we'll just
we're gonna get another comment. You 4 idiots picked the wrong movies.
Couple knuckleheads here, right? But
wait, why didn't we give Harold a pick?
Harold can't talk. So let's let's just quickly recap. So first overall, I took Slapshot. Scott took Miracle second overall. Bridget takes the original Mighty Ducks at third. Snake Draft. Bridget takes Happy Gilmore at 4. Which Bridget, I think that's a great pick to be honest. Mystery Alaska goes 5th overall to Scott. I take Youngblood 6th overall, D3 Mighty Ducks at 7th overall. Scott takes Goon 8th overall, and Bridget ends off with MVP. So we'll see how those rankings do online. And if you guys have anything else before we go here?
Yes, we got the chocolate. We haven't eaten it yet. We got to go over to the office. It arrived, but we haven't retrieved it. So thank you to Skip and Abigail, our listeners from Switzerland, who sent us over some really nice Swiss chocolate.
Scott's going to try not to eat it all before he gives it to us.
Yeah, he didn't.
I can't make it. Well, here's the thing. I actually haven't even seen it yet. So I had our other Brian, our front office receptionist, put it in the fridge just to make sure it doesn't overheat sitting around. I'm very worried that I'm going to show up there and it's just going to be gone. And someone just stole it out of the fridge. So
if Fourier was still here, it would be gone.
Well, that's radio station culture, as you know.
I was gonna say we do benefit from Jones and Keefe are at Pat's training camp, so they have not actually been in the office because Keefe, quite notoriously, has stolen some things out of the fridge from people. So,
how about the time Gresh stole Megan's bouquet of flowers on Valentine's Day?
Oh yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that one's almost even crazier than food because it's like. Food and drinks, it's like I can kind of understand. You open the fridge, you just see it in there if it's not labeled. But yeah, the flowers though, that's those clearly belong to someone.
I got blamed for that.
You don't just
I
leave
got
like
blamed for
flowers
that.
sitting around.
They were like, who would steal flowers? It was probably another girl, right? And I was the only other girl around. And they're like, Bridget, did you steal the flowers? I was like, no, I didn't steal someone's Valentine's Day flowers. Like, and so then Garvin goes and he gets the security footage, and it's just Gresh walking out of the station with a bouquet of flowers. And I was like, I told you guys it wasn't me. Like, I was getting all sorts of questions. I was like, I would never steal Megan's flowers.
Well, the Keith taking Coco's Courtney Cox is like it was like coconut water, or I forget exactly what it's. Oh, it was a Celsius. Was great because like the Great Hill Show spent the whole morning trying to get to the bottom of it, like debating who stole it, and then Jones and Keith come on like right at 10, and Jones is like, apparently big scandal, someone stole Coco's Celsius, and Keith right away is just like, yeah, that was me.
No shame. No shame.
I'm not as worried as I would have been before, though. The person with the biggest sweet tooth is no longer at the office, so
that's true.
Yeah.
All right. Well, at this point, we've gotten into radio station gossip and food and drink stealers. So we'll let the listeners have the rest of their day backs. And thank you all very much for listening. And we'll talk to you next week. Hey, guys. Thanks for watching the Skate Podcast. If you want to see more of our videos, visit our playlist.
Not in front of a screen? You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Don't forget to follow us on social media. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and leave a comment.